month of October is quickly coming to an end, and with the change in the calendar to November, that means that the college basketball season is quickly upon us, with exhibition games starting to begin and the non-conference season about to start. Everyone, my name is Derek Dockett, Assistant Commissioner of New Media Technology at the Missouri Valley Conference, and today I am excited to talk a little Missouri Valley Conference basketball with the newest member of the Missouri Valley Conference television network broadcast team. You may remember from the 2007-8 Missouri Valley Conference champion team, the Drake Bulldogs, Adam Emmenecker. Adam, how are things going with you?
Things are going good, Derek. How are you?
I'm doing well. What have you been up to lately? Talk to the fans. Tell them what you've been up to since your playing days at Drake.
Sure. So after I left college, I spent a year playing overseas. I was in Frankfurt, Germany, playing with some other fellow Valley alums as well. And then moved on, played in the D League for a little bit. Ever since then, after retiring from my basketball career, now I'm working at the Principal Financial Group here in Des Moines, Iowa.
All right, great. Well, as I said, we're excited to have you calling a couple games for us on the MVC Television Network, and it'll be an absolute fantastic season coming off a Final Four run from the Wichita State Shockers, obviously, and some membership changes with Loyola joining the league. But want to bring you into the fold, and as we get started with the 13-14 season, what do you think, in your perspective, now that you'll get to watch the games,
Sure.
What are some of the three things that Adam will be watching throughout the league this year?
Well, I think, Derek, you hit the nail on the head with mentioning two of them. Number one is the Wichita State Shockers. Coming off that Final Four run, that's not something that we've had a lot of experience with in the Valley in the past. We don't have teams that make those deep runs. We see a lot of Sweet 16 teams. So how is Wichita going to respond? You know, they lose a couple of guys that were really instrumental to that team. Talk about a Carl Hall, a Malcolm Armstead. Really toughness guys, leaders on the floor for them. That can be tough to replace, but you look at what they have coming back. Ron Baker, Cleanthony Early, guys that really have shown a lot of talent, maybe just not as much consistency as Armstead and Carl Hall. So it'll be interesting to see how they progress for Greg Marshall going into this 2013-2014 season. You know, I think that this one is the Loyola Ramblers. They're the newbies in the conference. They're fresh blood for all the teams that have been beating each other up for so long, but it's not that unfamiliar of a face. You look at their coaching staff. Porter Mosier, he's a guy with Valley ties, coached at Illinois State a couple years back, also played at Creighton, won a conference championship at Creighton, I think, in the late 80s. So he's a guy that understands the conference, understands what it takes to win. They were one of the youngest teams in the NCAA last year. Their record kind of reflected that, 15-16. You're going to have some growing pains when you do that. Look for them to kind of take that next step. They have 10 returning guys. So it'll be interesting to see how they transition from Horizon League basketball to what I would argue is maybe a tougher league in the Missouri Valley. And, you know, I think the third thing, it's kind of a general concept, but just the parity in the MVC that we've seen over the past few years. Wichita State, a Final Four run, consensus, one of the top teams in the country last year. And they proved that in the tournament. They lost to the last place team in the Missouri Valley. And I think they had two losses to Evansville, who was in the middle of the pack. So you look at that and you see that type of parity. This is a tough league, night in, night out. And you have a little bit of turnover. You have Ray Giacoletti starting at Drake University. Evansville lost Colt Ryan. How are they going to step up without their senior leader and score? So across the conference, you have all these teams with renewed interest trying to get their focus to the top of the league. But then you also have the known quantities. The Indiana States returning Jake Odum and Manny Arop. Two guys that really had good years last year. Jake Odum's obviously done it for his career. The UNI Panthers with Ben Jacobson, you know they're going to play hard-nosed defense. So I think there's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely. It's always a knockdown drag-out, as you very well know, in the Missouri Valley Conference, and it's fun basketball to watch for us. So now, this coming week, we've got the Media Day, the MVC Basketball Tip-Off. Live coverage will be available on MVCsports.com, Valley Live, and YouTube, where fans can follow some of the interviews with student-athletes. We'll have a luncheon panel featuring Commissioner Doug Elgin and a number of NCAA basketball talking heads that'll be there at our event in Chicago. And at that same time, we'll announce our preseason all-conference team. Want to throw it out to you. What are you looking for? Who do you think will be on that 2013-14 preseason all-conference team?
So I mentioned a couple of them. I think there's a couple that are going to be consensus picks, hands down, just because you've seen what they've done in the past. Number one, Jake Odum. Jake Odum's a senior this year. He's a guy that's been a starter for 3 years, and he's been all everything for Indiana State. He passes the ball well. He's improved his scoring over the past and he's a leader. So I think that's one pretty easy pick for Greg Lansing. It's a guy he's not going to want to lose next year over at Indiana State.
Yep.
Another one, Cleanthony Early. We talked about him in Wichita State. If we're talking Wichita State as the top team in the conference, a lot of times they get two guys. Cleanthony Early is definitely going to be one of those people, and one of the guys that people talk about for Player of the Year as well. Really talented, really skilled, showed that he can do it offensively. I think he's going to take a big step in his ball handle, passing, and his defense this year. Everything I've heard, he worked really hard over the summer and is going to make big progressions for Greg Marshall. Another guy following in that Wichita State, if they're going to have two, I really like Ron Baker. You know, Ron Baker didn't have a whole season last year, played the first few games, sat out the rest of the year, but you watch him in the NCAA tournament, even after missing that much of the season, just seeing the trust that his teammates had in him. He's just a tough and heady player that does anything he needs to help his team win. If we're talking a couple more, let's see, that's three, so we got two more. Look at Seth Tuttle from UNI. Seth Tuttle's a guy that's shown the talent on the offensive end, but he's been a little bit inconsistent. For Ben Jacobson's team this year to win, they're going to need that consistent low post scoring. I think they'll play a little bit more up tempo, but once they get in those half court games, because of the way they grind it out defensively, they're going to need to have Tuttle score on some of those key possessions. And lastly, I think Walt Lemon Jr. from Bradley. Boy, that guy's a super athlete. Left-handed too, so it's a little bit awkward to defend. Gets to the rim with ease and finishes pretty well. You've seen great progression out of him over his career. I think he's going to take the next step up and be on the first team All-MVC this year.
Absolutely. It's a good rundown there. We'll see what happens, what the media folks think. And we also will unveil our fan poll. We ran a fan poll on MVCsports.com for the first time this year to let them make their choices. We'll see if the promotion of the individual schools, we let them promote it on Twitter, if they got some weight behind their fans to weigh the ballot in their favor. But we'll see what happens. We'll unveil that as part of our Media Day coverage on Valley Live and YouTube. Adam, look forward to talking to you all along this season, and look forward to some great basketball being played as well.
Yeah, Derek, it's going to be exciting. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.